Kevin, you or Dennis, you want to kick us off with a welcome and open us up?
Sure. I was just waiting for that. If we can put everybody on mute for the time being, we're going to have a question and answer period and comment period at the end. This cuts out the background noise. So welcome to today's meeting. Special welcome, and I'd like everybody to pause for a second and blow Suzanne Carowin a kiss. Yeah, her son graduated grammar school today, I believe it was.
Yeah, that's
And
right.
Suzanne took as I like to say, she did a face plant earlier this week and was really knocked up a bit. And she's been a real trooper. Hosted a great meeting yesterday, and she's joining us today. But she is off camera.
Oo, pakilabas mo. Ay,
due to
wag na muna, dyan na lang yan. Lalagay ko na lang sa box.
Yeah. Just a brief update on the membership committee. We're adding some additional committee members. Brian Steiner from VP from the Home Office is joining the committee. Mark Aker has joined the committee. And another trustee, Megan McKenna, is joining the committee. She is not with us right now. She has commitments for the next 4 Thursdays in a row, but she is she's going to be helping us with our rural effort. Those states and even those local areas that have rural areas, and I'll use New York for an example, huge metropolitan areas, some big cities other than New York City, such as Albany. But in between that, it's a lot of open area where there's potential for growth. We can advance the slides, Corey?
Absolutely, I got it for you.
Okay, take your time. So, situation report, I believe, Corey, you or Suzanne's going to handle that? Okay, there it is.
Absolutely. So I'll jump right in and just make sure we're going to start doing this at the top of all of these calls and let you know kind of where we are from the end of last week, or I'm sorry, rather last month. So these are the metrics on the whole. You can see nationally, 21,146 members at the end of April, which constitute 118 new members, 27 rejoins, and so forth. You can see that. So we want to just kind of start off with where the numbers are, and we're going to talk a little bit more as we go forward about how we're going to get you this data in the future, but at least use that as a baseline for our process. And then we'll move on to the acquisition section, and I'll turn that over to Suzanne, let her talk a little bit about what we've done on the lead generation front.
Okay, so thank you, Corey, and thank you, Dennis. So just a couple of quick updates of where we are, because we had a huge month in May since we last talked. As many of you know, we continued with our town hall series and oftentimes generating over 1,000 people who have registered, et cetera. In May, we also held a very successful CEO panel. We completed our NAIFA Nation Impact Week. And if you weren't a part of that, all of these things are all on demand. We also continue with our advisor ambassador program. And so again, I mentioned this because all of these are generating leads. And so as we go forward, we started sending them out. We've gotten a lot of great feedback. We're iterating towards better perfection on the leads, et cetera. But we have, at this point, thousands of new people who've never known NAIFA, who've gotten introduced to us during really COVID-19 as we look to capitalize on the opportunity that it affords. So the Advisor Ambassador Program, I just mentioned that because through the summer, we're always looking for YATs to help us drive that. We're always looking to get more people in there. And just a reminder, we're considering that as kind of a free 4-week trial, if you will, of membership. And then other places that are also continuing to develop leads. And again, I mention this because what we want to get as we go forward, my section, we want to start talking about that lead funnel and the cost per lead and how long does it take it to convert to new members, so we can start doing a forecast and getting into predictive modeling. But in addition to these big events that always can generate leads, I just wanted to alert you that we also have a brand new launched Advisor Today, both magazine and website, which is really lead friendly, and we're using that to generate leads. Our Smart Brief, we're starting to overhaul that, generates leads, and also our CalSurance program, in addition to many other programs that we have when we have a webinar, et cetera, that's open up to members and non-members. And so it's putting all of those things together to get it into a lead funnel so we can actually go ahead and make the close for membership. I wanted to pause for one thing to kind of mention. When I first got to NAIFA 2+ years ago, one of the things that we had on the table was, could we just convert a member without, could we just do kind of an e-commerce model where we just convert them, where they get to know us digitally, they convert them, et cetera. And at the time, everything about NAIFA was so based on going to a physical local meeting that model just did not, it worked a little bit. And the only price point we had was $56. And it just showed it showed no evidence that model could work at that time 2 years ago. Having said that, with COVID-19, with everything moving to such a fast and furious digital, we're going to start using some techniques again to see if we can't actually go ahead and convert some of these these people that have come. Can we warm up the lead and can we convert it all online without having to go do the ask? So I'm just going to give you a heads up because we're going to work on that project this summer, and it makes sense now that we have our graduated fees, we have a palatable price point, we have we have enough value proposition that we're going to try that out. So all of these places that generate leads, we're pulling them together, and we're going to go ahead and see what can we do to convert them and put them through that lead funnel. So I'm just giving you a heads up about all the different leads and where they're coming from that we're going to start really working on and now putting in this automation and the funnel. So if you want to go to the next one, Corey. So having said that, if we just focus in on NAIFA Nation Impact Week alone, we had over 4,600 people register across the 3 days. And in doing that, of the 40, now that one person might have registered for all 3 days, and that counts as 3. But in doing that, of all that 4,600 registrations, of that, it's looking like, and again, it's always a process of cleaning our data, it's looking like we have over 1,000 prospects, right? So not a bad way to generate prospects, and a great problem to have. So we're putting together a 3-step funnel. So we've followed up with the survey, invitation to additional events, and then asked to join. And we're going through this. And once we get through the funnel and we qualify them a bit more, then we'll turn it over to the state if we can't get them to close just on their own online. So I want to mention one other thing with that, and that is that, that's okay. One other thing with that piece of it is that all of these people that are flowing through our system, we can track them at each point, and we're getting really good at trying to figure out, again, how much did we spend to get them? What was our cost per lead? All the things that you guys do all the time. Cost per lead, how long does it take to convert? Where do they get stuck in the funnel, right? And so really putting in the typical sales and marketing process to get to conversion, okay? In doing that, one thing that's come out of this is that some of our other centers, and those centers are under Brian Steiner, but we've had sponsors come out of kind of the woodwork and start asking, hey, how do I get to be a part of NAIFA? How do I get to do this, et cetera? So I wanted to alert you to that. And then note that on June 24th, for example, we're doing a free advanced practice symposium that we're doing in conjunction with FSP as a warm-up for a series in August that will be fee-based, but that this idea that we can start to do product placement or people placement, if you want, for really good topics, drive a lot of attendance to it, and then put it down the funnel to start to convert to membership is something that we're now really keenly focused in on doing, especially now that we've got all the sites launched and the brands there and the whole bit. So we're kind of ready to start harvesting. It's also brought us a new sponsored webinar that's come in, and then again, we are going to have opportunities to do more lead gen webinars on the consumer side to build up demand to get a financial advisor. So we're coming out from a lead generation, potential acquisition standpoint. We're really coming out of COVID-19 in a very strong position. And now it's about capitalizing on that opportunity.
Let me add one thing in here, Suzanne.
Sure.
And if you just back up a few seconds, Corey, to the 1195 page. Yeah. So we're calling these people prospects, the 1195 people. For those that are on the call that are on sales, we probably consider them by a different definition, warm leads. They've had some introduction into NAFA. They're getting an idea of who we are and what we do. And as we reach out to them and put them through the funnel, they're going to learn more and they're going to develop into hot leads. So think of it that way for those of you that came up in the business over 10, 20, 30 years ago, and you started to build your business from prospect list to warm leads to hot leads and referrals. Thank you. You can move forward again.
Yeah, and just one note, actually, I will mention this because I think this will clarify a lot of things. I say it's 1195 with some caveats because we need to spend a little bit more time combing through that. And here's why. So after we've done all this and we've put in, we use HubSpot, which is a marketing automation platform. We connected to Zoom. We also have our customer relationship management system, your membership. So guess what is one of the big things that we've learned. One is when a member joins, we've been collecting their business address and their business state, et cetera. And that's what's been going into YM. But then we have to go back and get their home address because that's where the congressional district is actually, that's what we predicate that on. We've added to the form, thanks to our chapter presidents and their feedback, anytime we have a registration now for any sort of event, we have required that they put in state, region, and their phone number. Now, having said that, that is a self-reported state region. So they might just say, yeah, today I'm Utah. The other thing is, in this, I'm just getting a little bit technical because it's important that we understand this when we talk leads. In your membership, you have one primary email address that you've presented. In HubSpot, when you go to register for a webinar, oftentimes our members will put in a different email address, third email address. So we have all these email addresses on file. So and when the information from YM comes over, you might be dcuccinelli@cuccinelli.com in YM. You come over and you're listed as a member, but maybe then you use denniscuccinelli@gmail.com to register on a form. That system doesn't know that these two are related. They don't know that. So we have to be able to come through and come up with a way, and we're in process of trying to figure that out. How do we match on names to say that dcuccinelli@cuccinelli.com and denniscuccinelli@gmail.com are both the same person and both a member? Okay, so we could go back to our membership and say you have to just use one email address. The likelihood is it's not going to happen because people have all different reasons they want to use different email addresses, et cetera. But just so you know, that's been some of the pieces there about what's the, being really candid about these leads as we all look to say the data, et cetera. So also if they self-report and they're listed as principal and that's based in, a certain state and everybody's coming out of that state, that's why. Because they're putting in their business address, not their actual home address. So thanks for giving me a couple minutes to explain that one, because that's some of the muddiness that is the data hygiene, data prep. As we turn ourselves into a sales and marketing engine, we have to work out those processes. But there's no automated way that a system would know these two people are the same thing. So hopefully that helps. So just so you know, I know we've had people say like, I didn't get the email link. And it's like, well, that's because you opted out of your one email address that's on file and you're using your Gmail account for something else. And the two don't know they're the same. So as a membership chair, as a chapter staff, as an exec on here, as a president, that's really good that we're all starting to understand the data together and what we're actually looking at. And as you know, there's always a ton of cleanup, et cetera, with data. So I just want to put that caveat on those numbers because they are going to fluctuate, and I don't want you to think that's kind of sketchy. It's because we're cleaning that up and we're trying to match people together. So moving on, so we've gotten all that under our belt, right? So Q1, we got new brand out, new platform out, we got lead generating programs. Q2, we're starting to roll out chapter websites. We've got all sorts of new events that are generating leads for us. We're in great shape. So what happens in June? So in June, we're going to do kind of a mid-year touch point, how we do in membership. And we're going to collectively put together a membership survey to send out to everyone. We're also moving into the world again on the side of acquisition of really, like I said, looking and analyzing and getting really tight on our processes. So when we say this is a marketing qualified lead versus a sales qualified lead versus an opportunity, and we're talking about stage funnels, we're all really tight on that, right? So moving truly to a sales model. We also are working on a couple of other things. The acquisition dashboard, Corey's going to talk about the retention dashboard, but we also want to say that because we've now gotten so much out of the way, the leads don't stop when the event ends. And so now we're moving into a world of just continuous marketing. So if we have the CEO panel and it's now open for on-demand registration, and we have the Impact Week and it's open for on-demand registration, and we have a Big Ideas webinar and it's open for on-demand registration, guess what? We have leads coming in perpetually. That's what we're looking for, right? Leads coming in perpetuity that we can constantly harvest and put into this kind of automation funnel. And so we're working on that, in addition being able to create letters that we're going to get out to the partners, companies, agencies, equip our Brian Steiner business development team, et cetera, to make sure that they're saying, hey, listen, this is what NAIFA did during COVID-19. If you're not a part of this, you need to be, and open up the door for the day that the agencies come back to have kickoffs meetings and the companies come back and all of that, so that they can clearly see we did not go to sleep during COVID-19. If anything, NAIFA rose to the occasion, and we're going to use that as a leverage point for how we're going to kind of move that forward. And again, Dennis, you probably have some comments on that on the agency side.
Yes. Our agency program or programs is something that it's in a project stage. So if you have a hot lead or know a manager of an agency well, we can hook up with that person, sit down and discuss what they're willing to do as far as supporting NAIFA. I'm going to use an example that occurred, about 2 weeks ago. An agency in Iowa, a principal agency, came to us and said, we want all our managers to become members of NAIFA. We're going to pay for their, or partially pay for their membership. How do we make this work? NAIFA sent one list bill to the agency, and 5 people became members. We can work out those programs on a case-by-case basis. All we need now is for people to start feeding us those leads. We're asking for something warm. Please don't send us the name of, Jimmy John's agency in Iowa, and you have no clue who works there. We're looking for agencies that have made a commitment to NAIFA. We're working on a couple of groups right now that exceed 100 people in the office, with the possibility of having 100 people join NAIFA at one time. I'll field some questions on this later on, but I think you all get the understanding of what we're trying to do. We want to move beyond the one-on-one asks to the 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 person asks. Via Brian Steiner's team and Kevin Mayu, they're in discussions with groups with thousands of potential members. Combining the one-on-one asks, the agency presentations when we're able to make those again, combining the agency onboarding process project that we're looking at, and the home office bringing down, these large groups, we could easily get our membership problem behind us within 1 year. That way NAIFA is constantly looking on month to month and year to year growth. But we need everybody to understand that this is a team project and that it will work only if we all work together. Suzanne, I'll turn it back to you.
Dennis, before you do that, I want to tag team on the Iowa situation too. It's a perfect example of how the home office and the state relationship and working on this together really came together. So when these principal agents came on, the Iowa chapter immediately reached out and put together a social, sent them a case of wine to have a happy hour. They all got on a happy hour together and had some really good conversations about NAIFA benefits and the value proposition. And I think we're going to see some really great dividends downline from that discussion. So it was really a case study and collaboration there.
Perfect. You know, this can be the next big thing with NAIFA's membership. So in the next few weeks, we'll be ironing out some of the details on this. We'll be reaching out to the membership chairs and the chapter presidents, asking them for those referrals. You know, bring them in the door. We'll discuss them before we open up the conversation with the agency manager. And we'll make this work. Once again, it's a team effort, and I hope you all will be participants on the team. Suzanne?
Yeah, and just Guy Stubbs had a good comment on the group chat, and his take was that, you know, he lives in a pretty rural area, and there's not an agency that's more than 3 financial advisors in it kind of anywhere. But you know what, again, COVID-19 has helped us kind of do is bridge that gap with digital. So if it's now become the norm and de facto that you can have these virtual meetings, one of the things when I was kind of mentioning, we're looking at, could we put into place more of an e-commerce model? Well, that means that you could do things like kind of what Corey was saying. Why not have hey, everybody, we're going to have a virtual happy hour. You invite all of those, you know, 2-3 person financial advisor agencies or whatever across your state. We can help to get to who those people are to invite. And you say, hey, look, we're going to have just like a get to know NAIFA happy hour, right? So there's some places now where before that probably wouldn't never have worked. And now it's really, actually, this can be a way to bridge the gap using things like Zoom to be able to reach people that that are a little bit more isolated, et cetera, or that people just they're not going to want to come back to in-person meetings anytime soon. So I think there's a lot of creativity of how we can kind of, we can get more people in the door on the acquisition side that we've never seen before. I think last time I told you the story of Ohio, but I'll just repeat it. So Ohio, and again, he's agreed to do this for anyone, by the way. Ryan Pinney, who's one of our former trustees, said, hey, listen, Ohio was struggling, and they said, we have a really seasoned group of advisors in Ohio. Everything is predicated on the local meetings. They have very strong locals. They're not even have a strong kind of state conference. It's really at the local level. And we were trying to figure out a way to bring the state together. And so Ryan Pinney said, listen, I am happy to do, everybody's struggling with, most of our advisors are used to going to like Bonefish Grill. You know, they're used to going out to Smith and Walensky and sitting at the bar with a glass of Malbec and meeting their clients and getting introduced to new people. So they were really struggling with how can we do this in a world where we can't go out to restaurants and bars and go meet people and go to Panera, et cetera. And Ryan Pinney said, listen, I'll get online for, you know, basically, I'll give you 60 to 90 minutes. We're just going to do live training of converting your office and how you can use virtual now for acquisition, for clients, for relationships, for care calls. Here's how we do it at Pinney Insurance. We had 117 people get online with us. And I think that people were glued to Ryan Pinney. Nobody even batted an eye. I think most of the people have never been on a webinar or anything. It was life-changing. So we were able to turn that around. And of that 117, we had something like 50 or 60 that they're not NAIFA members. So the people, my point is, NAIFA can answer the call at a really critical point in many people's kind of business practices here by being able to get that critical information to you and then say, listen, we don't have to wait until we get in person to make these connections and have this good information exchange. And because right now, if we get together on a Zoom meeting, we're experiencing the value of NAIFA. So just as a side note, you can tuck that into, you know, you tuck that into the back of your mind there, that Ryan said he'd be happy to do that for any state. And I guarantee you'll have people show up who are members and non-members, and you can use it as a, you know, free, lead generator. So just to throw that out there, some really good examples of doing that. I know also that California has been having a series of happy hours, as has Maine, I've seen. And I think that, you know, people are starting to get the gist of this and saying, hey, there's different ways that we can continue on and open this up to non-members too, acquisition. So I think it's overall a really good thing. So I think just in finishing up with this slide, just in other work in membership, and that, Corey, I'm going to turn this over to you for commentary.
Absolutely.
A little bit about the retention dashboard and the membership share role.
So one of the things Dennis and I have been talking about in great detail is how can we provide ready-made, on-demand information for you as the membership chairs, the chapter leaders, and chapter staff to be able to know and benchmark where you're at. I mean, we're all sales folks here, and you know, you want to be fed leads and you want to hunt, as Suzanne loves to remind me all the time. I love it, and so that's what we want to do and be able to measure the results of that. As you noticed in our previous slide with the metrics on NAIFA Impact Week, we have the ability now to develop these dashboards. So we're working to build them out right now that you will be able to access, and it's going to give you national data, state chapter data, and local chapter data for your area. You'll be able to see, you know, how many members do you have, how many are lapsed, how many are returning, how many are new. You'll be able to compare the current month to the previous year end, and you're going to get some charts and rankings that are going to let you know where you stand. So by putting that data in a readily made, single source, easily consumable format for you, it'll be updated every month at the end of the month. And that way you can start to build a plan and know what you're doing is working, or if you need to tweak your message. So that is something that is in a rapid development phase with us right now. And I'm working with our technology folks on virtually a daily basis to get that done. You know, Dennis has really had a hunger for this for a while, and we're committed here in the next, I don't want to say 60 days, I really want to say 30 days, but 30 to 60 days for sure, we're going to drive this thing home. So be on the lookout for that. And then lastly, one of the things I consistently heard as I came on board and talked with more and more people from the chapter level around the country was that we needed greater definition. You know, we ask a lot of our membership chairs, and we've got a lot of really great veterans on this call right now who've done this for a while. I see Maureen, I know she reached out to me when I came on board, and she got my name through the Florida channel, and she reached out right away, which was amazing. But as we're asking new people to step up and take on some of these roles, they're going to need some more guidance and kind of best practices. And so really at the membership chair level, but at all levels to help out, we're working on developing some local job descriptions, membership roles, you know, that sort of thing that I think will be helpful as you continue to ask people to come on and take these leadership roles within the chapter. And also as you start to foster other support folks for them to be able to not have to carry all the burden themselves. So look for that to come out here in the very, very near future.
Okay, so you can jump to the next slide, Corey. Right, there we go. This is April Lynn. I think you're.
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Hi.
I'm here. I'm here. Good morning or afternoon, everybody. Hi. I wanted to touch base and talk to you a little bit about onboarding. And the concept behind the onboarding portion of what we're doing here is that we want the people who are coming in and who are part of NAIFA, sorry about that interruption, to feel like they're involved in something bigger than themselves, and also to be a part of a bigger organization. I apologize, I'm in the airport right now. And so from being part of my world with motorcycles, when I was riding by myself, I felt very independent and was having a great time. But when I was able to ride with other folks, when we were going the same place with the same destination in mind, and we were working together towards the common goal, it was very powerful. And we want NAIFA to be the same thing. You can liken that to something in your world. When you're going somewhere with a group of people, you feel like that you are more powerful as a group than you would be individually. And part of what we want to have happen is that when somebody joins NAIFA, that they are feeling like they are oriented, and that somebody reaches out to them. So we're going to have the orientation meetings every other Friday from 12 and 4 p.m. Eastern. So they have the options that can work around their schedule. And in addition, we're going to have somebody from NAIFA National call them and reach out to them and welcome them. And then somebody from NAIFA National, namely Sunshine, is going to reach out to the president and the membership chair of each state and is going to let those people know that we have new members in your state, so that you locally can reach out to the new members and touch base with them and start to make them feel like they are on board and they are part of something bigger than themselves and common goals. Again, a couple of years ago, we had a NAIFA speech, and it was Nice Ride, and it was talking about being a part of a culture. And we want them to feel like they're part of the culture of NAIFA and to embrace and understand what that culture is. In addition, in June, we're going to be having the member benefits webinars, which have been happening, but we're going to invite and make sure that we account for the people that are on, and then give them invitations again so that they can understand what the member benefits are and what the value proposition of NAIFA is, because you can't be on board with something when you don't know what that something is. And I know Suzanne had a little bit more information about what that member benefits is. So Suzanne, if you can kind of pipe in and talk about that a little bit.
Yeah, and so what we're doing from kind of the NAIFA National Home Office side is kind of each week we're adding in a process. It's probably, and we're getting great feedback from you guys. You guys are jumping on stuff, you're responding, and we're just together really iterating towards making a tight process between how can we all, do this seamlessly, between kind of definitely between home office and state, et cetera. And so in doing that, we have been doing these member benefit webinars for the last, at this point, 18 months, but we haven't really been tracking people. We haven't really been pushing the idea that, okay, once you get in the door, the last thing we want to see is churn, right? You guys all remember that P word of yesteryear, that pilot program was like the first thing I was told when I came into NAIFA. It's like, don't ever use the pilot program word. So when you guys know how hard it is to get a client. So once we get a member, we want to keep that member, and as I always like to say, love them up, to make sure that they're going to stay with us, and we're inculcating them into the culture. So now you're seeing us going to start to really work on this idea of what are the pieces you need to be a good NAIFA citizen. And this idea of NAIFA citizenship, we've introduced before, but we're now going to kind of put in the monitoring and mechanisms and reward systems to say, great, we want to make sure that a new member that comes in is actually, they're not only just coming in, but they're going to stay for a good amount of time, that we know how long they're going to stay. And that also we're doing things like making sure that they understand that they should be getting GovTalk and getting involved in IFAPAC and getting involved in coming to NAIFA Live. And they're seeing that these new ways of doing things is what the de facto norm is. And so that's what those membership benefit webinar series are doing. For example, instead of just talking about affinity discounts, we want people to really suck the marrow out of the bone of the NAIFA value proposition. So if you can get an article written about you in the Advisor Today magazine, I want you to do that. So we want to make it clear to people, how can they be a spokesperson? How can they be a volunteer? How do they get their names up in light? How can they get to be a board of trustee? And be really transparent with pulling people in and helping them to understand, how do they use NAIFA as a platform for their own business, right? For their own brand, for their own business, so that they can not only give back, but they can also really utilize NAIFA to be that differentiator in their community. And so we're going to make sure that we're putting in that process to say, like, hey, listen, we see that you didn't get a chance to go to learn about how to get published and promoted in NAIFA, or potentially become a speaker, or we see that you missed the one about the importance of IFAPAC and what it is. We know it's intimidating, so we want to make sure you come back. Here's the on-demand version, or here we can do it again live, right? So we're really making sure that all of those pieces that we get. And think about this. About 2 weeks ago, Lynette Spence invited me to join the Alaska board to go through all of our websites. And at the end of it, it's an hour of talking. the people go, wow, the board members go, wow, that is so much. Like I never sat back to look at NAIFA as a whole and understand how big NAIFA is. NAIFA is like going to a university. It's that big. We have that many programs. We have that many award programs. We have all these things. You could be doing NAIFA every day, as all of you on this call know. So we need to be able to break it down and step people through so they understand how they can kind of navigate this whole association and use it to something that they're not going to feel lost in, that they're going to feel welcome in, and that they're going to be so proud to be a part of, right? And so that's a piece that April Lynn is helping us to guide with that, and us make sure that we're stepping through people or stepping through the process so it's just not so overwhelming to start with. And that's where we all can, help with that and help figure out, okay, what are you the most interested in? How can we get your heart on fire about this particular thing? Because as you guys know, there's something for everyone inside of NAIFA, and it's not just one thing. We got to understand what is interesting to the member and then align them to the right program or kind of trajectory of how they want to have their kind of membership career. So I think that's some of the pieces there. And so those are kind of the big things, is we're just kind of adding on week by week and trying to improve the process and the metrics and making sure like we don't leave anybody behind.
Retention. I'm sorry. April Lynn, did you have a final comment?
No, I was all good comments. I was just going to say that what we're all working together. So I think that the concept is that NAIFA National is working with the locals, and we're all working together towards the common goal of retention, which is what we're going to transition to now.
Great. Retention. Earlier I mentioned that the membership team committee really works together, and each of us has an assigned role, and that role is really helping us to grow membership and grow NAIFA. Steve Saladino heads up our retention program, and Steve, take it away.
Thank you, Dennis and April Lynn and Suzanne and Corey. What a great team, and it excites me to hear this and see this so much that I'm starting to feel like I'm getting worked out of a job, which is phenomenal news. We've always had a tremendous value proposition, but it's funny that even with all the rich benefits of membership, we were still losing people. And as I've mentioned on several calls, it's not just because they're getting out of the business or they've died. Many people just have either changed their bank account information or their credit card expired, but many of them have left, or a large percentage of them left, because they just weren't feeling the love. They didn't feel the value. It wasn't that they didn't see the value, they just weren't feeling the value. And I hope you'll agree that with this onboarding and this engagement, and all the work that's being done at all levels of membership in our committee here, as well as on the state and chapter levels, we're giving them more love. They're feeling more engaged. And I feel like really closing the back door is going to be a term we're not going to have to use much longer, unless somebody actually does retire fully or they pass away. So in retention, really, it's been starting since the day somebody comes on as a new member. I was excited to hear that a member joined, and within hours of joining, got a call from the state of Florida from the membership chair, Maureen Kirchhofer. It made my heart warm to know that we were starting this kind of engagement, because we want them to feel welcome throughout their membership. But some of the reminders that I wanted to share with you is that for those people that had no idea that their membership had lapsed and they want to come back on, just as a reminder, because there's been either some misunderstanding or miscommunication, the WinBack program is still active and vibrant. This is not something we want to hang our hat on. It's just a benefit to try to get some people that we might have lost without them knowing it. The focus is still bringing on new members and growing the organization. But for those people who had their membership lapse as of last year or prior to 1/1/2020, they can come back into membership with the WinBack program. You'll see the information on the website there, the link that they can follow or that you can use to help bring them back in with the promo code LOVE, because we love them and we'd love for them to come back and join back in and engage with us. The ending date is going to be June 30th. So we don't have a lot of time to work with. For those that have been waiting for the perfect time to make the calls or wondering if this was still active, it is, and we need to make the calls right away. Don't let somebody not rejoin because of money. They're going to be able to come back in at a rate of $30 per month for the first year of rejoining, and then it's going to go to $40 and then $56 on the third year. Now, this is for people that expired prior to 1/1/2020, but also had 3+ years in the industry. So this is not for any of those pilot members that I see going back and forth in the chat box or any brand new member. This is somebody that's been in the business. This is somebody that was a prior member of ours already. So this is a great opportunity to make some calls to get back in to see some people. Next slide, Corey. So some more with retention. You heard me talk about member care calls, and you've heard it throughout the call already. And I want to make sure that we understand, and I want to kind of clarify what I meant by that, because we're getting some really, really good feedback and results from these care calls. We want to focus our effort really on the retention part of this for the care call, thinking about maybe people that have not renewed in the past 30 days, or people that have just been lapsed within 30 days. So for those of you that are saying, Steve, I love all these care calls, but we have 500 people that have lapsed or 5,000 people on our list. Let's just start with a micro volunteerism opportunity. Let's just start with those that have lapsed within the last 30 days. I'm sure you or some people on your membership team can make a couple of calls and knock these out. And that's where we want to start our focus, is just in a 30-day time period. And this can be a moving target. So next month we can work on the last 30 days or the next 30 days. 30 to 60 days is really just enough to handle. And it's warm enough where we can call them and just really call out and say, hey, how are you doing? So this is not a membership call. This is a care call. We're calling to see how they're doing. What have they been up to? How are they conducting business in this environment? Is there anything that we at NAIFA can do to help them? Do they have any questions or concerns? And just make yourself open to just listening. Many people right now just want to talk to somebody and want to be heard. So I would just say that we want to personalize this, strike the right tone as an advocate, as a friend, as a partner, as in truly we're in this together. And then if you need to, from a retention call, then you can start talking about your membership and the win-back program. But start off with them and then hear them out, and then you can pivot in your phone conversation. So as we're making these, I want to make sure that it's not all about business, that we don't go in and say, hey, I'm calling about your membership. We're calling about renewals, okay? Whether it's lapsed in the last 30 days or they're going to renew in the next 30 days. I think if you call somebody that's going to renew in the next 30 days and ask them how they're doing, and then right before you hang up the phone, making sure you've asked whether or not you can help them, I want you to just say, hey, before I let you go, I want you to know, I really want to thank you for your continued membership. I really appreciate it, because you know we can't do this alone and we're stronger in numbers. So thank you so much for your continued membership. I think that's going to go a long way. I'll open it up at the end for any questions you might have about how the call's been going. But we have had just phenomenal feedback about just really thank you for calling. It meant a lot that you took time out of the day to call me. If they're not there, just leave them a message with what I just told you, thanking them for their membership, leaving your number where you can be reached. And then maybe you want to call them back the next month or a couple of weeks later. But strike the right tone, make it personal, and let them know you care. So that's all I have, unless anybody has any questions. I'll turn it back over to Dennis.
Thanks, Steve. I really appreciate that. We're really going to open this up to questions a little bit in a minute. I see through the chat box there's been a ton of questions already. I believe most of them have been answered. If they haven't, just let us know. They seem to be popping up every few minutes though. So, you know, we're salespeople. We thrive on sales ideas. And we understand that during COVID-19, those one-on-one asks have really dissipated. The agency presentations have probably gone to zero. So here's an idea that I think can get a lot of traction for your states. You know your members. You know the names of those who are really committed to NAIFA. It could be a high IFAPAC contributor. It could be a former president or a former chairperson. Reach out to them. Ask them to engage 2, 3, 4, 5 people in their office on the phone or via Zoom to discuss NAIFA. It's a simple 10, 15-minute conversation. You can download the sell sheets that give them a guide off the NAIFA website, the membership section. And just say, hey, look, in the next week, while you're sitting at home in between client Zoom meetings or calls, can you reach out to a few people in your office? You may want to take your membership list and sort it by agencies, sort it by carriers, and transfer that information over to the person you're speaking with and say, here's a list of 6 people in your office. You know, looking at your website, you probably have about 100. Can you engage 5 of them over the next week about the value of NAIFA and how NAIFA can help them grow their practice, especially during COVID-19? Here you're going to be, you know, I get it. I'm a state membership chair as well. I've been a chapter membership chair. I understand your time is limited. So rather than hunt for one person to become a member, you're going to hunt for 1 or 2 or 3 or 4, 5 people who can touch 5 more people. And suddenly you're going to start seeing, if done correctly, an influx of new members. You're going to start receiving those emails on a daily basis advising you that a new member has joined. Now, if you don't think you can do it, you know, privately message me. If you need more information, privately message me or email me or call me. I'll be happy to engage you all. So we're going to open it up for questions right now. Corey, could you turn off the, unmute everybody?
Yeah, so you can actually unmute yourselves. So please feel free to do that. Let me know if you need any assistance. And I'm going to go ahead and end the screen share too. So,
okay. So Danny Kaplan at the New Jersey popped in a question. You know, there are producers who have become licensed, and I'll use quotation marks around the word licensed. And I believe it's up to 29 states that are allowing producers to be licensed temporarily during COVID-19. Each state has a slightly different rule regarding it. You can go to nipr.org and you can get information related to all those rules. So let's just use New Jersey for an example, because that's the one I have the most knowledge of. If you had passed the pre-licensing exam and done your fingerprinting, and the fingerprinting centers are open, New Jersey will allow you to become licensed temporarily. You know, when I reach out to agency managers and told them about that, they were very thankful. They really understood that we had their interest, their best interest in mind. We're now reaching out to those same managers and saying, hey, look, you have 3, 4, 5 people who have taken advantage of this. NAIFA membership is $10 a month. NAIFA who engaged the Department of Banking and Insurance to make this work. It's NAIFA who communicated consistently and had a conference call with the Department of Banking and Insurance to get them to understand our position. Let's make them members. $10 a month, you know, help them move forward in their practice. Anybody else have a question there? Tom, I see your face popped up there. Do you have a question for us?
No, I was just going to say what we're trying to do in New York is similar to what you've done. I've been membership chair and state president in past. We're trying to get as many people to take care of their own neighborhood as possible. And what I mean by that is that my GA has agreed to allow me to basically check everybody out, see who's a member, who's not, use his name, use his influence. I rechecked it again yesterday, and while I have maybe 10 people in for the year, 15 if I'm going to count renewals, there's still a ton of opportunity there. I mean, in my office alone is 60 plus people. So, I mean, I'm embarrassed by it, but my GA is very dedicated to getting this done. So we're trying to get everybody just to take care of your own neighborhood, because there's a lot of opportunity sitting, well, maybe not now, but normally sitting to the right and left of us.
So Tom, I privately message you. I will be reaching out to you no later than tomorrow, and we can chat about that opportunity.
Yeah, and Dennis,
Yeah, Brian.
Tom, this is Brian Steiner. I'm not sure if we've formally met. I sent you a private message too, just through the with Nat, and we've got a great relationship with Guardian through Lena Lucina and some others. So I'm happy to chat offline and see if we can work together in that.
That would work. That would work out great. And one of the other things I want to just add real quick, and I'll let others talk, is what New York State did is we knew that we had to grow. Like you grew your committee, Dennis, we had to grow ours in New York State. We reached out to a guy who had an impeccable record with us over the years. I'm sure he's on the call, Kevin Mulqueen, and Kevin is a career New York Life agent. He's been somebody who's gone through the chairs. He has the passion of NAIFA, and he is really going to be dedicated towards. He's the membership chair. I wanted to just focus on helping him. So we're trying to grow our infrastructure in New York so we can kind of replicate better results.
Great. Brian, did you have anything else you wanted to add? Brian's the newest member of our committee. He works at, everybody I think knows Brian Steiner. Brian?
Yeah, no, I mean, and listen, we want to start. Listen, I don't think the one-to-one, member outreach is ever going to stop. But I think, one of the things we really want to get to is bringing on more groups, agencies, companies from the top down. And if you have relationships, whether it's with your own firm or a buddy down the road, and you don't want to, do the presentation directly, I just encourage you to reach out, email me. I'm happy to do them. I'm happy to coordinate that on our end as a handoff. We have a tremendous amount of flexibility in how we can set up the pricing structure and the packages. We want to make it easy. We want to make it fun. We want to make it turnkey. And, we're close to getting more of a systematic process in, but, with a lot of the larger, carrier companies too, we've got really good relationships with them from a corporate side. They want to help, but they also want to see champions from their offices. So when we talk about a Northwestern Mutual or a Guardian and a New York Life, or it doesn't matter, we have a lot of the support from the C-suite, but they also say, hey, we want to make sure that, we're not going to do it for you. We're going to support you. But if you identify champions from offices and things of that nature, we can help spread the message a little bit more, in a coordinated way. So feel free to reach out directly to me, Suzanne, Dennis, who I feel like, even though he's a volunteer, I feel like he's part of the staff. We talk so much. We can hand that off and we can run with it. We just need the introduction.
Great. Anyone else have any comments, concerns, questions? I don't see anything. So we can end this. We're right on time for 1 hour. Using the NAIFA tagline, together we can get through anything. I'll change it just a little bit. Together we are getting through everything. And there's April Lynn. She has a mask back on. First person I ever seen in a Zoom meeting with a mask. I know you're working out of your office. Take care, everybody. Stay safe, stay healthy. Contact us anytime, 24/7. I'm willing to help. Bye.